You're listening to Turi Writers' She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marcy Persky. In this podcast, you can pick up a lot of really useful information, like when not to wear the underwear that has the hole in it.
I woke up tired. If you've ever done that.
That was yesterday. Yesterday was my woke up tired day. I had,
Jerry let me sleep till 6:30. So, and that, for him, that's 3 extra hours.
That would be a puppy bladder accomplishment, is what
Yes,
that
it
is.
definitely.
That's huge. That's incredibly huge.
But I'm still exhausted.
Well, I realize this is a not political podcast, but I've just not been sleeping due to radical shifts going on all around us.
Yeah, I've been trying to blot that out at night.
I really wish that I could. Unfortunately, what I usually listen to, because they're deadly dull boring to go to sleep, is the BBC. And the BBC has gone crazy reporting on American upheaval. So then if I switch to Canada, which is also frequently deadly dull boring, they're filled with outrage. And again, I wake up in the middle of the night. So I have no choice but to wake up and read something. And what do I pick up and read? I pick up and read future panic novel, The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. So I'm just,
Nice.
I'm not doing very well on
You're
that front.
torturing yourself.
I apparently am doing exactly that.
First of all, I can't understand a word that the BBC says.
Really?
English accent. Yeah, I have like an English accent understanding deficiency.
Wow.
And, I remember interviewing Ozzy Osbourne for an hour.
Well, I mean,
and
he's not typical.
knowing a
Come
single
on.
word he said.
If you're going to extrapolate, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne without...
Well, that's an extreme.
he couldn't get
but I
hired
can't
to...
watch.
Ozzy Osbourne couldn't get hired to bring fish and chips into the BBC,
I
studios.
can't watch
So no.
British movies without
Subtitles.
U.S. subtitles.
I got
I'm not
news-
going to say English subtitles.
I got news for you. I can't watch most. This is embarrassing. I have been watching with my friend who's been through the terrible circumstance, and we're both SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild members, and we're both trying to make sure that when we vote on the Screen Actors Guild Awards that we're up to date. So one of the things we've been doing is watching the nominees together. And I'm embarrassed because she doesn't need the English subtitles for American movies, but I do.
I do. We have subtitles on our TV all the time, and it's mainly for when when I have my hearing aids in, I can hear it just fine. But most of the time, I don't, because there are other things going around
That you would rather
going
not
on
hear?
around me.
Yeah.
Exactly, that I don't want to hear.
Well,
Like the dog licking itself, or the other dog drinking, stuff like that.
I'm trying not to get the visual on that. I thought I would gut it out with the subtitles. I did. I thought I can manage without. And we got about 10 minutes into, I don't even know what movie we were watching. I think Honora, which is Brooklynese, which I should understand given my parents, but I made her back it up and put the subtitles in because I just had no idea what they were talking about.
Well, back to the subject of sleep.
Yes.
The way that I can sleep with all the bad things in my head,
Yeah.
is that I have a ritual of watching The Daily Show every night.
That
where
puts you to
they
sleep?
actually turn bad things into jokes. And it's not where they're like calling us all morons or anything like that. It's actually funny.
There was something. Oh, my major accomplishment today was no major accomplishment. That was pretty much it. I'm back. I'm persevering in my quest to fix things. But I will say that I expect my major accomplishment of today, excluding, of course, this brilliant recording session of a bunch of stuff that isn't going to do anybody any good, is going to be shredding documents. That's my goal for the day. And the spousal unit isn't much ahead of me. His major accomplishment for the day is picking invasive bugs off his orchids. So the two of us are like, "Did you get anything done? Nope. Did you get anything done? Nope."
Well, I told you that I'm working on organizing my kitchen. And
Yes.
so my last step is I bought like all these canisters that you see through,
Oh,
and they have like black labels on them, and they sent a white pen with it.
oh,
And you
clever.
put like cereal and coffee and all that kind of stuff.
That way you can see the invasive bugs in your cereal before you actually pour them into your bowl and drench them with
Exactly.
milk. Very nice.
Exactly. You got it. The little
Weevils.
whatever weevils in the flour.
Ugh.
Actually, I have bay leaves everywhere because I read that the weevils don't like bay leaves.
You did your own
So,
research on that, did you?
oh, I sure did. Sure did. Anyway, I bought these things and I took them out of the box,
Uh-huh.
and they're piled one inside each other with plastic in between each one.
Fantastic. Plastic,
I,
yes.
and well, trying to pull the first one apart, I
Uh-oh.
like I threw my back out. It hurts so bad.
I thought you were going to say you pulled it out and whacked yourself in the face. That'd be the kind of thing I would do.
No, I pulled a muscle in my back. No, that was my full extent of doing work today.
I, I,
Was hurting my back, pulling one, just one,
I
out from the other one.
I once had to lie on the floor for 4 days because I put my back out washing out tights in my own sink. So
There
I,
you go. So
yeah,
you get it.
I know how this can be.
Oh,
Four
yeah.
days,
Like,
4 days of lying on the floor with my knees on a chair because I had washed my tights out.
wait. My husband called me fidgety last night.
Really?
Yes.
I've never been called fidgety in my life. I think
Well,
that
he heard my podcast partner call me fidgety.
twitchy I called you.
No, you said fidgety.
Well, that was when you told me that twitchy wasn't nice. I
No,
downgraded.
twitchy isn't nice.
Like,
Twitchy is like somebody who needs drugs. Maybe I do need
oh
drugs
God. Well, I thought you would take the opportunity of me calling you twitchy and march it right
to
down to
do
your
drugs.
physician.
Nah, I am full of ibuprofens, not just two.
This is so awful how petty and small and tiny my life is by the time it gets down to the teens and ice and sleet here in Chicago, where you have to go down your front porch steps holding on with both hands because you cannot see the little sheet of ice. So I just stay in because it's a good excuse to stay in. And my major exciting event of the day was that through the New York Times Wirecutter site, which has been antagonizing me lately by doing things like reviewing chapsticks, like
I saw
freaking
that.
cares. I did find a coupon for fancy underwear for cheap, and that like made my day. I bought six. I want you to know, 6 pairs of fancy underwear for cheap. Yes.
Oh, Tree's trip to Alabama is going to be spicy.
Well, more like if we have a car crash while we're touring around Alabama,
You'll
I
have
won't.
nice underwear.
I won't be embarrassed. That's right. If I'm in the ER in some remote Alabama town, they won't go, man, those Chicago people, they sure don't know how to wear good underwear, do they?
Well,
That lady over there in the ER, she had, I counted 6 holes, and one of them's where it won't do nobody any good.
you know what? I have this one pair of Calvin Klein underwear,
Yes,
and it's ripped, of course, at the where they rip
where they won't do
after you
anybody
wash
any
them
good.
600 times.
Yeah.
But I can't bring myself to throw them out. And so every time I wear them, which I still have to because they've been washed 10,000 times and they're really comfortable, I don't drive because Ann Landers told me not to when I was 13 years old.
That, you know what? This is a true story, and somewhere I have tape of this. I was run off the road by a drunk driver in my brand new sporty car in 1986, and the car rolled over, and I ended up in the hospital. And in the morning, the very, very famous Chicago air personality, and one of our two podcast listeners may know this name, Larry Lujak, called me up in the hospital, and he asked me the most important question.
Are you wearing
So,
nice underwear?
that's right. Were you wearing clean underwear? Said Uncle Lair. And I had to tell him that the underwear was clean, but it was the emergency underwear. And he said, emergency underwear. I said, yeah, it's the ugly pair that you wear when all your other underwear is in the laundry, but you ran out of quarters and you couldn't go down and start the load of laundry, which was a revelation to Uncle Lair, who lived in the burbs and had his own laundry machine plus anything else he wanted for many, many years. That was the whole 50,000 clear from Santa Monica to all the ships in the Atlantic understood that I was wearing emergency underwear.
Well, for all the doctors and nurses that are listening,
Yes.
if I ever happen to get in a wreck in my Calvin Klein torn underwear,
Don't cut them off or do cut them off.
no, I think the fact that they're Calvin Klein overrides the fact that they're torn the elastic.
You know, there should be some sort. I'm surprised there's no meme anywhere of the gradations of judgment about your underwear.
That's one of two things that I remember from Ann Landers. The other thing she said was the best form of birth control is hold the pill between your knees.
Oh, that's an old one.
And those are my two Ann Landers from the 70s.
Did Ann Landers really say that? Put the pill between your
Yeah.
knees? Because that's like straight out of Jack Nicholson and Five Easy Pieces.
Oh, no, she said that before that movie.
Yeah, but
Pretty
that's
sure.
been said a lot. You know, the best place, but put the condom between your knees, put the pill between your knees. And then, of course, Jack Nicholson. What about that? I want you to hold the toast between your knees.
But I have bad knees, so I can't.
Well, there's the okay then.
There's the response.
There's your
I have bad knees.
Too bad that whoever was writing Five Easy Pieces didn't know you.
No, as I sit here in my pajamas that I haven't taken off all day, my hair that I have yet to brush, which I probably won't at this point because it's already, 4:47 here, so it's only 5 hours till I go to bed. But the dogs and cats and the baby don't care. As long as I feed them all.
So
they're all good.
you don't subscribe to that school of marriage that says you have to look pretty for your husband when he comes home after a long day of work?
He comes home every day and tells me I look pretty, and I tell him he needs glasses.
That
And
sounds
hopefully
like
he never gets those glasses.
a lovely welcoming ritual. I like that.
It is. It is.
The spousal unit confirmed today that he is the blabbertooth that I always accuse him of being.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I say to the spousal unit cannot help himself. He is the biggest. You cannot tell. If I don't want him to share a piece of information, I simply do not tell him.
And if you do, you tell him not to tell anyone.
And he will.
shares it, right?
He will. He will. Yeah, he will. There's something we're not supposed to know about one of our kids' friends, mostly because it was shared by another kid's friend who said, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this yet. It'll be public soon enough. But, and I shared with the spousal unit who knows both of these kids. And I said, we're not supposed to know yet. So don't tell anybody. And we're on the phone with our kid. And there's my spouse going, hey, I hear there's news. And I'm like, I can't even.
Yeah.
It's been several hours since that phone conversation, and I'm still seething.
The cat is out of the bag.
Worse yet, exactly for the reason that my kid says to the spousal unit, oh, did you hear that from so-and-so who didn't want to be known to be sharing this news?
And he says, sure, yeah.
He says, I can't discuss it. Oh, now you can't discuss it. Now you can't discuss it. The only thing that I can do is simply not tell him stuff. That's it. That's it. I have to walk around with the Maxwell Smart cone of silence around my body. I have a marriage where I just don't tell him anything unless I want it broadcast to the universe.
It's okay. That's how my husband thinks about me and the podcast.
That it's his private life broadcast to the universe. I'm trying to think if there's anything
but it really isn't. I hold back from saying a lot of stuff.
I know you do. Because you say it to me. No, she doesn't. No, Frankie, she doesn't share any of...
I do, Frankie, because I'm fidgety and twitchy.
Well, you guys are just going to have to work that out in therapy, along with your reluctance to buy a decent pair of fancy underwear.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for listening to Tory Writer's She Said What podcast. We're glad you found us, and I hope you'll find my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. It's all true, but I've changed the names of the people and the radio stations and a bunch of other stuff because I'd prefer not to get sued. You can find it at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon.